Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, welcome back to a new game. Today we have ByuN here in the bottom right, spawning as the red Terran player, playing for Shopify Rebellion of course. And in the bottom left, spawning as the blue Protoss player for Team NV, it's going to be Creator. Creator has actually been showing that he is one of the better Protoss players, at least in my opinion, well, I don't want to say in the world or in Korea, but when it comes to PvT, he does tend to look very scary. And I think that's also something we should always keep in mind, is that there are those players that can look very good in one matchup and can just look a little bit weaker in other matchups. But whenever I watch Creator play in PvT, I always think to myself, you know, that is pretty cool. The way that you play, I do like that. So I'm never truly impressed by his PvP or his PvZ, at least not in the last few months, but his PvT is something, when I look at it, I think, well, that's actually pretty cool. And it seems like he can actually fight and put up a proper fight as well with some of the best TVP players in the world. And luckily for us, we do have one of those best TVP players in the world. We have ByuN here, who in my opinion is definitely a top 3 TVP player. You got Maru, you got ByuN. I can't even think of another Terran who's performing well against TOS, but I'm sure they are around. I just haven't met them yet. No, there's... well, let me actually think. Dream, perhaps, I guess. It's so hard because Innovation left us. It used to be easy to just say Innovation. The way that I said it made it sound like he died, but he just went to the military, guys. No worries. Okay, we have Marine first coming out of ByuN as... It's pretty standard. He went for an SCV Scout, which is not standard for ByuN, but it is standard for most Terrans. Perhaps has died one too many times against Creator doing some wonky shenanigans. It's going to be going into a 3-Rex. We can easily spot this by the fact that he's hardly mining any gas from this barracks. And if you want to get a quick factory, then mining gas kind of is a vital part of the fast factory. It's actually going to go to a triple CC here. I like this. I do like this. I always like triple CC openers, and especially on Blackburn, a map where I think it can be quite difficult to do anything with an initial push because you have this ramp. A single battery over here can stop something like a 3-Rex. Stargate is really powerful on this map because you have this zone which kind of locks off a part of your base. It's almost like a wall but in the air, and it gives so much utility for Protoss. It helps so much. It helps so much defending against drops. It helps so much, well, just against drops really. There's nothing else. Or flying units like Banshees, Ravens. Feels so much easier to deal with if they do get slowed down that much. And for them, running away becomes close to impossible. You have Blink on the side of Creator. And Blink is not necessarily bad against this, okay? When you look at these two situations, you might think, hey, this 3rd CC is going to be way faster, but that's always going to be the case. Like, that 3rd CC is just going to be really quick. Like, that's just a fact. You know, there's no build order that's going to be able to stop that on the side of Creator. Now, for Creator, one of the main things that he needs to recognize is... this is a good control out of him, by the way. He killed 2 Marines and dealt a crap ton of damage on loads of others. Just with 2 units here, he's doing quite a bit. Okay, I was gonna say he needs to recognize what he's playing against, and he needs to ideally get a very fast 3rd base here. And then second of all, he'll also need to get a very fast Robo Bay. Because when you're playing against someone opening triple CC into 2-Rex, their army is going to consist of Marines only, but they'll have a lot of Marines. So Colossi are really good. They'll also have a lot of eco. And because they're not going to hit the quickest attack with like a stim and a combat shield timing, because, well, it's only playing 2-Rex here, this basically just means that their first timing isn't going to hit as hard as, let's say, a regular 3-Rex is. A regular 3-Rex at this point would have like 18 Marines or 16, 17 Marines and 2 Marauders. Stim and combat shield would be finishing in about 10 seconds from now, so 455, 450 sometimes we see it even. But here Stim is gonna finish, what, 530, 540, something along those lines. Like, this is a way weaker push. It just has less units, it won't have combat shield, and it's going to have a lower unit count. So a fast third base would be ideal against this, and then the Colossi added on to deal with the high marine count. However, Creator kind of misread this. Well, at this point he does know, but he built an Immortal first. He even went Forge now before Nexus. I am not too happy about this situation for Creator whatsoever. I do have to admit that. This is not the start that you want as a Protoss, okay? There is still perhaps going to be some counterplay for him here, but we'll get into that once we do end up getting there. But ByuN's just gonna take a decent supply lead here, and at this point there's nothing anymore that Creator can do about that, because ByuN's just gonna have enough infrastructure. He's gonna get a crap ton of units. I do like this move out of Creator, that's good. He's gonna try to take out as many of these Marines as he can. I hope this Observer's gonna get taken out. Oh, ByuN's looking for it. It's not gonna be able to get it though. Perhaps one more unit can bite the dust here. Marauder. Was very close. Is not quite going to get it. There's another Observer here, so it's kind of stuck in between two Observers at this moment. Might get one, but there's no way you're getting both, buddy. Maybe with one scan it's actually possible. We get like an absolute money scam. This is such good control out of Creator, by the way. I love that when tosses do this. It's very tricky. We'll see it in the APM as well. He's going a little bit faster than you usually do. Or than he usually does. Oh! Ends up getting that Marauder. Kind of sloppy out of ByuN to keep that in the front so much. But yeah, it does end up falling. If you take a look at the units lost, it's still pretty even. And this is actually the counterplay I wanted to talk about. But didn't really have the time yet. So, because there is no units on the map that can counterattack until medevacs are out, you actually have the opportunity to play around with force fields, with a Colossi, with an Immortal, and sometimes you can even do a straight up push with like two Colossi. This is something that if you get across the map is really good. The Colossi is just a very powerful unit against high marine counts, and the way that Terran works is that they initially want to build as many Marines as they can, because they don't cost gas. That allows you to tech up quickly into starports, into tech labs, get those upgrades going, but it does mean you have a very big Marine army. So if a TOS can force a fight before the Marauder count kind of took over, and you can fight with like 2 Colossi, an Immortal against something like 6 or 8 Marauders, usually you're gonna win those fights. However, it feels like ByuN has won enough time, and now ByuN is kind of the one in charge. Gonna drop into the main base here. We see Creator with a Colossi coming up as well. Mind Shot is going to hit pretty big here. The rest of these units are also going to get taken out. Prism on the side of Creators, just idling for now. Supplies are kind of even. So we see ByuN actually on 6 gas already. Going into a second starport as well as the enhanced shockwave upgrade. Now, this means that we're just going to be seeing a ByuN that most likely would want to deny a fort base. Okay, this is a fort base denier push. So what happens here is you delay your 2-2 upgrades a little bit. Like, you're gonna get them eventually, but your gas isn't quite high enough if you're playing double starport and Ghost Academy before. So you kind of want to deny a fort base, then throw down your own fort base, so you're up a base. Then you can go into those 2-2 upgrades. This is really good usually on maps where a fort base is more accessible than where it is right now. Because on this map, the fort base just isn't very accessible. Like, it's just not possible to hit the fort base. You're gonna hit into the third base, but that one's already set up with batteries. There's a nice little choke here to deal with. So, I'm not entirely sure, okay? I wouldn't have minded a higher medevac count here to start with, slightly quicker 2-2 upgrades, something like staying on 5 gas for a bit longer if you're ByuN, and then I wouldn't even mind like a 4 CC and then into 8 racks afterwards. Blackburn just is a really tricky map at times though for Terran because of this. Like, yeah, taking down this fort base can be hard. You can establish perhaps something behind that mineral line and try it like that. Don't forget that this Observer has seen absolutely everything so far in this game, which is really nice. Double scans, 1 scan on his own side. He's gonna actually send out a double drop. Oh, he's gonna walk into a Zealot. Gonna kill that Zealot, and I think he's just gonna come back with his main army. He's actually gonna go into Fusion Core. It's funny because he already has that second eBay and his armory is done. And he's just gonna actually straight up go into Liberators. Doesn't really allow for any upgrades at this point because he doesn't have the gas for it. So this is feeling kind of all in out of ByuN, but just in a weird way all in. This is not how I'm used to seeing this being played. Good little move forward here will be capable of taking out 2 workers and a cannon before the Colossi show up. A mine here will well, not actually get the detonation off, as the disruptors will take care of that. We have a bunch of Zealots here moving towards the bottom side, but I'm not quite sure how ByuN does it, but he just knew. He was already moving part of his army here. Could even consider kind of sandwiching this army now with his main army as well. It's not quite going to do it. Of course, whenever you try to pull that type of move, there's always the fear of your opponent attacking into you as your army is over here. First 2 DTs are on the map. We have the medevacs going towards the top left corner as well. They'll idle there for a little bit, but don't think anything too weird is going to happen. Don't think these 2 medevacs are going to win the game. Especially if there's 5 Stalkers and 2 Colossi waiting over here. Now we have a Dark Shrine, but no Shadow Stride yet. It's a little bit surprising. Observer Speed, Stargate. We have seen some of the Protosses in Korea going for a high amount of Stalker Disruptor Colossi and then straight away transitioning into Carrier rather than first going into Shadow Stride. They especially do this on maps where it's difficult to get damage with the blink, and I guess I would say that this is one of these maps where it might be difficult to get damage with the blink DTs, because this map is very straightforward to defend, right? There's one big path here that you need to defend and there's a massive path here, but it's not that hard to get the defense going here. So yeah, it wouldn't quite surprise me if it's going to be straight up carriers. If we have another Stargate coming up, 2 more Stargates as well as a fleet beacon. Not seeing any air upgrades yet, which does surprise me and confuse me a little bit if you do want to go into carriers. The biggest disadvantage of going into carriers is just the fact that they don't have any upgrades by the time they come out. So you'll be fighting with a 0-0 carrier against Marines with at least +2 armor, which is an issue. Good couple of EMP Storm. It's not here yet. It's about to finish, but I don't see any High Templar in this army. Mainly being used for base defense, I guess. This is a tricky position now all of a sudden to defend here for Creator, who doesn't really have the tools to deal with this Liberator-centric army. There's just not a whole lot of Creator here, it feels like. He has a lot of these tricky units. He has 3 Colossi, 7 Disruptors, and an Immortal, but none of these really fight well into Liberators, especially if you start fighting by the time that the Terran hits your side of the map. We now get a blink forward. Liberators will be able to zone out this army on the right side, and Creator will need to start moving towards the left as well, but you're kind of working with a surround on the Terran army, but it's not really a good surround because the Terran can just escape any side they want to. Like, there's not enough on the right side to truly keep this surround intact. A couple of DTs are moving in. The Shadow Stride's still not done, so these are just DTs without the blink. 6 more Liberators are at home. If these ever manage to join up with the main army, by the way, that would be a huge deal. Don't think that's quite going to be the case as right now. ByuN oversteps and, well, actually he's going to be able to snipe a lot of these Disruptors. What should have been an awful fight actually turns into a completely fine fight. Takes out a couple of these Disruptors. Sure, he'll lose a bunch of Liberators for basically free. But 2 medevacs make it out alive as well. There's still a lot of supply on the side of ByuN. Don't forget that ByuN has pretty darn decent upgrades. Still no upgrade here on the carriers. But the first 3 carriers are out and 2 more are on the way. This drop is going to hit the top left side. Storm is going to hit absolutely nothing. That was useless. EMP misses as well. We'll have 1 more Storm here before this party ends. No. The Templar dies. 77 energy in the pocket. This base has gone down as Creator's just kind of standing around for a bit now. Wouldn't mind if he starts pushing forward. Of course, there's going to be some Liberators in the defense, so should not be capable of actually taking out this planetary. But maybe if ByuN starts floating this here and lands it, that Creator... No, Creator decides he wants to teleport back home. Teleports to the wrong base. Or, well, maybe it's the right base. I'm not sure. Recalling into big armies of Terran is always a bit scary, because the damage output that Terran has, especially if there's an EMP there, can just be so big. By the time your units can shoot, you lost half your army, and I understand why he recalled towards the third base. I kind of want to see what ByuN decides to do against these carriers, by the way. I'm quite curious. Ship weapons level 2 finishes up. That means that at this point the Liberators will be able to 2-shot Stalkers. And more importantly, if they get EMP'd, Liberators will be able to 1-shot Stalkers. Which is absolutely huge. The Stalkers freaking disappear from the map once the +2 finishes up. Oh, big disruptor shot is gonna get dodged here. As we see a scan forward. Once again, ByuN is moving out. He's looking for some damage. His army is really small on the side of Creator. And there's obviously a very good reason for that, and it's on ByuN to figure out what that reason is. I think he managed to figure it out, because we see Viking production immediately here. The carriers are moving forward right now. Oh, ByuN's trying to jump on top of this army, and well, this is almost more than trying. He's kind of succeeding here, jumping on top of this army. Takes out a lot of the Stalkers. Colossi still standing strong though. Disruptor still on the back as well, will be able to survive for now. Carriers moving forward are taking out a lot of these Liberators, and ByuN in a little bit of trouble. When I say in a little bit of trouble, I think he's in a whole lot of trouble at this point. There's 7 carriers, and the only anti-air that's really here at this point are 4 Vikings. Sure, there's a couple of Liberators as well that are out. There is a turret sprinkled in here and there, but I'm not quite sure if that is going to be enough. The carrier DPS is just so extremely high, even without any upgrades. Which still pisses me off and surprises me that he doesn't have any, but I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. Scan forward, couple of snipes going down. EMP. No, snipe instead on that High Templar. Good EMP on top of all of those DTs. A lot of these DTs are going to get taken out. One of them will morph into an Archon with another Dark Templar. Good EMPs on top of this army. Liberators helping out, trying to take out these Interceptors. Interceptor count is at 40 at this point. I think he also hit an EMP on those Interceptors, which tends to be rather important, of course. More Disruptors are on the way here as well. 4 more Vikings will hit the field, and that's gonna boot the Viking numbers up to 14. That is a pretty decent amount of Vikings. Now, of course, ByuN's still in a little bit of trouble, still needs to be very, very careful. But the fact that he's fighting with +2 ship weapons against someone on 0-0 when it comes to the carrier, that is a big advantage that he shouldn't have had at this point. ByuN stuck back on 4 base. Creator currently on 5, taking his 6th. And ByuN probably wants to start doing something about that. He has decent army supply, his upgrades are good. His army composition, a bit too marine-centric in my opinion, but also understandable. And, oh, a little bit of a fight here. Storm hits a big chunk of those Vikings. Interceptor starts falling as they come out. The Marines do make sense, but there's still 2 Colossi, and it just makes it hard. It's very difficult to craft a perfect army against what Creator has, but the road that ByuN decided to walk is that he wants to push back the Colossi with Liberators and Vikings, and then have the Marines in the back deal with Interceptors. That's kind of what he decided to go for, and that is a completely fine way to deal with this army, but the moment the Colossi get 1 or 2 swipes in, you're dead. Because Marines are so extremely vulnerable to not only Colossi, but also just to Storm. Like a good Storm on top of these Marines and the game ends. Because the Marines are the majority of your DPS. ByuN currently isn't maxed out either. He's gonna hit a couple of decent shots on these Stalkers. EMP lands as well. We have a Liberator flying forward at this point. Kinda like the way this looks. Kinda like this way this looks for Creator. Who starts with an armor upgrade on the cybernetics core. Now I've seen a lot of weird decisions, but this is really pushing it for me. Vikings will be able to push back, maybe even be capable of sniping one of these carriers here. Yep, 1 carrier goes down immediately, couple of EMPs hitting as well. ByuN taking the fight of a lifetime, takes out 3 carriers before the fight really even starts. Now Storm does land on top of those Vikings, but the Vikings are having an absolute field day here. Taking out the Colossi, taking out I think 3 carriers there total, so really 4 major units that have been taken out. We now have a little bit of a Viking flower over here, but does need to be very careful with these Vikings because they're the one thing that is keeping him alive at this point. Carriers are trying to move in these DTs. Shadow's trying about to finish up as well. Not quite sure where they're going to be going, but they do have plans. Don't think these plans will succeed, as Mr. Liberator probably will have something to say about that. Bunch of works going down on the side of Creator, and ByuN really managing to stay alive, even though he has been mining from less bases for a long time. This is not a good start of the fight though. EMP's barely hitting, interceptor count is falling, which is nice, but this is kind of what I was afraid of. Once you lose the Viking count that you need... Well, there's still 15 Vikings, they're just not in this fight. Here come the rest of the Vikings. More Marauders coming in from the side as well, and Creator believes he's getting pushed back, but I don't actually think that's the case. He actually tricked ByuN as well. ByuN was like, oh, you're running away? I think I can chase you. And then he was like, oh, never mind. You're still up 70 supply. DT dishing out a lot of damage as well. ByuN at a very low supply count at this point. GG gets called. And Creator wins this game here on Blackburn with the classic 0-1 carrier. I've never seen this before in my life. Does manage to get the win. Of course, it does help that Vikings tend to not have armor upgrades either. Just attack upgrades. But yeah, it is was an interesting game. Interesting little game. Alright, it's going to be it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you did have a good time. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you all next time for a new video. Thank you, and bye-bye.